Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's start there. Let's start with an upbeat topic.
Yeah.
Well, because we saw it like right after the last podcast. It was came out a couple days later. It was 2 weeks ago almost. So I enjoyed the hell out of it. I did a video review of it. I think this is like easily a top 10 comic movie of all time. It might crack the top 5 on my personal list. But I was floored by the direction. The acting was good all the way around. The story was pretty good. It could have been fleshed out more. You probably have something more to say about it than me because I already spoke about it for like 30 minutes. And it impressed the hell out of me.
Yeah, I mean, so it was Vonnie and I and 2 of our friends who went to go see it. And the general consensus leaving was that it was fantastic. In terms of just action and pacing and a space opera type story about a ragtag group. I'm sorry, I'm going to compare it to something like Star Wars.
Yeah, you can.
It's everything. It didn't really have a lot of space battle, like
there was 2 or 3 scenes.
It's smaller, but it's everything that Star Wars wishes it could have been in the modern era.
Yes, which it might go back to with the J.J. Abrams.
I'm not even whatever, but it was charming. It was funny. It was cute. It was action packed. It had great direction by James Gunn.
Good writing.
Michael Rooker was fantastic. Anytime I see Michael Rooker, I love seeing Michael Rooker. The writing was great, and there was excellent subplots worked in. And I'm being relatively spoiler free here because I know people don't like it when we use the spoilers.
We can spoil at this point. It's been out for 2 weeks. The movie. Can't
2 weeks.
And
2 weeks.
Yes, and if you want, if you can,
that was a Total Recall reference that you totally missed.
I haven't seen Total Recall since I was like 9 or 10, probably.
Anything to declare? 2 weeks.
So anyway, if you're listening to spoilers, fast forward 5 minutes. You know, I mean, what do you want to do?
Well, anyways, I don't have a lot to say that's spoiler heavy because the story was fantastic, but what I loved was just things like how the soundtrack was intertwined and how even the lyrics of the songs made, not only the tempo and the beat of the songs, but the lyrics made sense with what was going on. As a huge music fan and as someone who DJ'd, it was really cool to see because it's kind of like this melding of scene with song that really overlaid, almost like a mix, like a DJ mix. But it was fantastic to see these things happen.
You can tell that it was the director James Gunn. That's what he like when he was writing the scenes. Those were the songs he probably chose out front. And Marvel said, "Here's the money to go get those songs." This isn't like Sony and their Spider-Man movies, where every freaking Spider-Man movie that comes out, you can tell they're pushing the songs on the Sony label. That's happened with all the Sam Raimi movies, where you hear shitty songs you never hear again and don't fit at all. And here it was just like, here's songs from the 70s and 80s, some that people haven't heard in forever.
Right.
Cherry Bomb by the Runaways. I love that song.
I love Cherry Bomb too. That was my favorite song on the soundtrack.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Early Jackson 5 songs. I mean, come on.
Yep. Now, obviously, that was a soundtrack that Vonnie and I both loved, and it is getting the thing that upsets me, not to get too sidetracked, is if you go buy that soundtrack on CD or whatever, it has a picture of the mixtape on it.
Yes,
they're doing a vinyl release of the soundtrack, and James Gunn has talked about doing a very limited cassette release.
Why did they do the cassette? Yeah.
They are going to do a very limited cassette release. That's what James Gunn is saying he's trying for. I'm going to guess it's going to be a cassette store day exclusive. But what I don't like is that the vinyl version doesn't use the same packaging. It just looks all gaudy and silly. And I'm like, oh, come the fuck on.
You want a big audio cassette on the
Yeah,
vinyl?
I do, but I will probably buy it anyways. Anyway, so I loved the story about the kind of the underlying story about Star-Lord and his surrogate dad.
Which was a theme running throughout the movie about family.
Yeah, family. And I really thought something that really surprised the shit out of me was good old Dave Bautista. Holy crap.
We gave him a lot of shit for early in the year in his wrestling ability.
Because he sucks as a wrestler, but I gotta tell you, I loved his portrayal of Drax the Destroyer. Like, he was
very good.
Fantastic. He was hilarious.
He was poignant when he needed to be.
And dude, I'm sorry, cut out of wrestling. Go do more movies. You were fun to watch in an action movie. I would watch another action movie with your name on it. So that was great. I don't know. Minor spoiler. Because Vonnie went into it without knowing. when Thanos appeared, Vonnie squealed and grabbed me. Like, she was just so excited to see Thanos on the big screen, and I was too. But yeah, I don't know. It was my biggest qualm with the movie was this: it was paced very well, fast paced, not a lot of filler, kind of like Winter Soldier, and that was a compliment for me in Winter Soldier. I really wish they had slowed things down just a little bit in Guardians of the Galaxy, because I felt like Gamora and Star-Lord needed a little bit more character development between each other. And I think that could be, Groot and Rocket Raccoon come in with the backstory already. They've already got a story to them, right? And Drax works his way in as this guy who gets into a fight, and then like they become pals. But there just wasn't a whole lot of setup to the whole Gamora and Star-Lord thing.
I think she's an okay actress. What's her name that plays her?
I don't know actor or actress's names very well.
Thanks for bailing me out.
You're welcome.
She was in Avatar. She was in the Star Trek movie. She's a pretty good actress. Now I have to look it up because I feel like a fucking idiot on the internet now, not knowing her name. But I thought it was good that you think the story would take a turn for the ordinary with the romance, but then it doesn't, which is very refreshing.
It is.
Because I hate movies where the romance is forced in. Especially when you always like are we that empty that we always have to see a romance between characters in all these films? So I was happy that it didn't turn that way.
It's not
Very
that
happy.
it was it wasn't the lack of romance that upset me. It was just the fact that this is the first character he really meets when the movie cuts in, and they don't.
Zoe Saldana.
Yeah.
Zoe.
And I just didn't feel like they did a decent job initially of. I don't know. The group to me didn't really gel until about 2/3 of the way through, and I felt like they could have. I thought it's a minor gripe. I just wish that they had there was more exposition on them becoming a tight-knit group.
Well, they became sort of tight-knit as they learned to trust each other in the jailbreak scene.
Sure.
That's basically where it happened. Which was an excellently
Excellent.
staged and written and executed scene. You had total chaos. You had humor in
I got his leg.
Yeah. You had all these characters running around. Basically, it got you a chance to get to know the character's strengths at that time, doing all different tasks to perform during the jailbreak scene, which is just incredibly good writing.
Yeah.
To do that, where you show Rocket's good at doing the little. Doing the machinations of coming up with all these little gizmos, and you have Gamora trying to stay alive and kick ass, and Drax, and then you have Groot just being a brute basically, and you have Star-Lord trying to talk his way out of stuff and get the leg and everything else, which they didn't focus on, and then they all come together.
Yeah,
I didn't mind that, but yeah, I would have enjoyed a little more backstory, and I said that in my full review about that. But I do also like the fact that there was twists and turns, and you think Michael Rooker's character is just going to be a certain way, and then he shows other sides, and there's a lot of good stuff going on here.
I think Michael Rooker's character, at least as far as secondary characters go, is probably the best written, because they really, I am rarely surprised in movies, but they really keep you on your toes as to what sort of person he is.
Yes.
And his weapon is fantastic. Vonnie loved their interpretation of his weapon, because in the comics he actually uses a bow, and he can whistle to change the direction of it, but the whole just having the
in a holster
arrow in a holster thing and whistling it out and making it zoom around was great. I thought that was funny.
The liabilities that you think would have been liabilities, Rocket and Groot, are actually strengths.
Oh, absolutely. They were fantastic.
Bradley Cooper.
They were not Jar Jars or anything like that.
They were. Even Groot was a fleshed out character, even though he has like 3 or 4 words he says.
Vin Diesel got a lot of emotion out of those 4 words.
And he also did the motion capture too.
Yeah.
Or I guess as much as you can to be a tree.
Right.
But that was great. Bradley Cooper was great as Rocket. I mean, yeah, this was a movie that when they first announced this like 3 years ago that this was going to happen, you're like, really? They're going to do this?
Bradley Cooper, the guy from all those Hangover movies. I'm trying to put
the sexiest man alive of like a couple years ago.
Okay, I'm trying to put a face with the name.
Who's a good actor in his own right. Not the best, but he's all right.
I've seen like 1 or 2 movies with him in him, but yeah, he's okay.
Yeah, he's fine. He was on Nip Tuck he played an actor playing a surgeon. a plastic surgeon, which was funny because he played a sleazoid, and he was fine. But yeah, everything came off well, even the smaller roles. If anything, I thought the villain was a weak spot. I didn't really talk about that in my review. Kind of a little bit too generic for my liking. The villain, kind of like, I just want to destroy him. I'm not saying he had to be more interesting than that, but you'd like a more interesting villain. You always want a villain that you at least sympathize with a little bit, and this guy, you didn't sympathize with him at all about what he wanted to do or why. It was just he wanted to kill.
Yeah, but I think that's okay for this movie.
For a first movie.
For a first movie, it's fine because you need someone like that for a group to destroy to establish. I mean, like you'll notice they started using the term Guardians of the Galaxy towards the end of the movie. You need someone like that causes people to band around this group, give them a name, and earn them respect so that in future movies they're all automatically seen as a unit no matter where they go.
Sure, and then you have less exposition in the second movie, then maybe the villain can come in and be more interesting.
Right.
Which will come in few years. In 2017 they're going to announce a sequel.
I hate it when they announce movies and it's like in 2017 I instantaneously do the age calculation in my head. I'm like, I'm gonna be fucking old.
I'll be 74 when this movie comes out.
That's old fantastic. Already.
Whatever happened every 2 years, but then you gotta fast track it, and that's tough to get the script because it all comes down to the script. Yeah. They rush a script out, and these guys are working up on those movies up until a couple months before still. So the last thing they want to do is probably start writing again for the next one.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, it does work sometimes. Spider-Man 2 was really good, and that was only 2 years in a month or so out of the first Spider-Man, but sometimes it can go disastrously wrong, like Iron Man 2, which was one of the worst scripts for probably could be the worst Marvel Studios film.
I heard it was easily the worst Marvel Studios.
It was the script.
I mean, what would even come close?
There's nothing that's close.
I know there's a lot of people who are love or hate on Iron Man 3, but I think we're both love on Iron Man.
Iron Man 3. If you can hate the script, at least it's well written. You may not like what.
At least it's interesting.
At least you may not like what it does with certain characters, but at least it's well written. Iron Man 2 is written like crap.
Right.
There's subplots that they ignore, never come together, or do nothing with. That to me is a bad script.
Sure.
But anyway, whatever. So good on Marvel Studios. We'll see you in a few years. We'll see you next year for Avengers 2 already.
I'm actually not super psyched about that one.
Well, because the first Avengers wasn't nearly as interesting as this movie or Captain America Winter Soldier.
Here's the deal. After Avengers, I was like, that was a good comic book movie. I was like, it's actually a great comic book movie. But I never went back and watched it again. And then after seeing Winter Soldier, after seeing Iron Man 3, after seeing stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy, they really have to step their game up. The fact that it's an Ultron movie does have me... That's the one part that excites me. I like Ultron.
Well, they don't have to waste their time getting the characters together. That was basically the first 45 minutes of Avengers.
Sure.
Was them coming together, and it was very interesting. You knew they're going to have the little brawls with each other, and then the action was even well staged for a lot of it.
Yeah, like Cap didn't do a whole lot. No. I mean, it was
Captain got shortchanged.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's our Guardians talk. Too late. If this is weekly, we could have talked about it right afterwards. We don't care though.